Welcome, everyone. For today, we have a slightly different agenda. We are going to give Teddy the full spotlight today to share with us the past, the present, and the future of the data quality pillar that we have been developing from the ground up here for Open Metadata. And as always, at the end, we'll do a Q&A. And with that being said, I think that, Teddy, the floor is yours, and we can jump into the data quality. Thanks a lot.
All right, awesome. So, well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. We wanted to take this monthly community meeting to do an introduction to the new Open Metadata user about what we have built on the observability and quality side, and also showcase our vision and what we're building towards. So for those of you that recently joined the community, we've been at it building data quality and observability features since version 0.10, right? So as you may have seen, we have a native observability metric with the profiler that allows you to kind of have a sense of the shape and the nature of your table. We have no code data quality that are natively available inside Open Metadata across all of your SQL connectors, but also your data lake connectors. So it's not just SQL-based data quality, but it's also data lake data quality connector. We have third-party integration, so you can natively push your test case from dbt, Great Expectation, but you can also leverage our rich API to actually push test case results that you may have been running, inside your own custom data frame. We have recently shipped an integrated incident manager so that you can, as a user, do triage natively inside the platform and assign, task resolution and whatnot whenever it comes to data quality failure. And we have real-time notification so that your stakeholder and yourself are informed of any type of feature. We have introduced root cause analysis in the Collate tool on version 1.4, where you are able to actually view sample raw failures so that you can start, digging into any type of issues that you have. We have data health dashboard so that you can understand, the state of your data quality failure, and everything is of course backed by the rich RBAC that we provide, right? So that was kind of a summary of what we have, and now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this topic and show you how that translates inside Collate platform. Okay, so let us go through the Collate platform and see how all of those functionalities that we have been building for the past year and a half translate inside the Collate tool, and how you can get started on your observability and data quality journey with Open Metadata. So I've ingested some sample data. So I have ingested a BigQuery and a Google Cloud Storage metadata right in the Collate tool right here. And what we're going to start to do is going to set up a profiler workflow, right? So to set up a profiler workflow, and it will work similarly, whether it's a SQL data source, so in our case, our BigQuery data source, or if it's a data lake data source, so a Google Cloud Storage data source. So the first thing that we will need to do is to simply navigate to our connector and then navigate to our ingestion tab. So here I have set up a profiler workflow already, but let's go ahead and go over the different configuration that you can set up right through your profiler workflow and all the different attributes that can be tweaked and set up at this level. So if you're familiar with Collate, that's a screen that you're probably familiar with. So here you can basically decide which database schema or table you want to include or exclude whenever we are going to run the profiler. If you have some views that have been ingested, you can decide to exclude those views, right? Generally, we recommend to not compute profiler metric against views, as these ones can be a bit more computationally involved. Finally, you can also set whether you want to generate sample data as we are running this observability metric, right? So to avoid any type of, select all limit, 100 rows being run again and again and again against your database, you can decide to ingest sample rows. And then finally, if you just want to ingest sample rows and are not interested with computing any type of metric, you can toggle that off. And then in that case, we will only generate sample data. You can decide as part of the profiler to process PII sensitive data. And so what that will basically automatically tag any type of columns that may contain PII sensitive data. So either based on column name or sample data that were ingested, the tool will be automatically tagging those columns as being sensitive. Right, so once you have configured those parameters, then the next step is to simply decide at which schedule you want to execute it, right? So I've been running a profiler workflow for this table for the whole afternoon. So let's go ahead and check what type of metrics we're surfacing whenever we're running that profiler workflow. So I'm navigating to my entity page. So here, my customer table inside my BigQuery service, and I will go to the profiler and data quality tab. So as you can see, the first screen that we're seeing is our table profile, right? At the table profile level, we will have different metrics. We will be able to see the total row count, the number of columns I have. If I have set any type of sampling, we'll go over that aspect in a little bit. The size of my table and when that table was created. Finally, I'm also able to see the data volume and the trend across, different days. So we see this one has been running every 30 minutes, for today. But then I can also look at a longer date time. And then at the bottom, I will see any type of DDL statement that were run against my table. So this functionality is supported natively for Snowflake, Redshift, and BigQuery, but you can also decide to ingest those metrics directly from the API. So that will help me understand any type of insert, deletes, or updates that have been happened on my table, and when those were happened, and the number of rows that were affected. Right? So I can see at 325 that I have updated 75 rows on my table. Now, those are the native metrics that we're providing for the table level, but as a user, I may want to track my own metrics, right? So we have the possibility to create your own custom metric. Custom metrics are simply queries that are executed and that will return scalar values, right? So in that case, in that scenario here specifically, we want to track the correlation between two specific columns. So we are simply entering that SQL query here. And then on each execution of the profiler workflow, I will have this metric tracked directly inside my table. And this can be done at the table and at the column level. Apologize. And you can simply add it by clicking on the add button and selecting custom metric. That will bring you to the screen where you can give it a name and decide to execute that query. Now moving on to the column level. At the column level, we'll have information that are related to the column. So there are two levels when it comes to column metrics. We have that high view that provide us with specific metrics, unique, null, distinct, context, etc. But then whenever I click on a specific column, I will have a more detailed view of the metrics that are related to my column, right? So those are grouped by different categories: data count, data proportion, data range, aggregate, quartiles, and data distribution. And similarly to the table level, I'm able to view it for a specific date range or add a custom metric, right? And then I can navigate easily between the different columns from that view and check the different metrics. So that's the type of metrics and the type of information that we get whenever we are executing a profiler workflow. So already from that stage, we have a sense of the composition and the structure of our table. Now, whenever we're defining a profiler workflow, there are a few elements to keep in mind, right? When it comes to executing that workflow, we have a few recommendations. The first one is profile what you really need, right? As profiling will have some computational cost at minimum, and it may incur some cost for specific services, right? Think about BigQuery, Snowflakes, Athena, this type of service, will incur some cost because the execution of the queries happen within the engine, right? So make sure you compute and you set the profiler for the assets that you really need. We have some optimization that can also help you run the profiler more efficiently. So in the setting at the table level, you will be able to set different metrics, different configuration for your table. So you can set a profile sample, right? So it can either be a percentage of a row count, and that will allow us to take a random sample of your data and only compute those metrics against that sample. For database and services such as BigQuery and Snowflake, we leverage the native capabilities of this table to do sampling in an efficient way. You can also, paste your own profile sample query. In that case, we will, use that to compute the sampling, and we will ignore any type of configuration that you may have set anywhere else, right? So this sample query will override any type of configuration on which we will compute the metric. You can exclude and include specific columns so that you will only compute the metrics for the columns that you are interested in. Whenever you are using the include configuration, you are able to select the kind of metrics you want to compute for that specific column, right? So here, maybe for the customer ID, I just want to get the null count. And that's the only column that I may want to compute my metric for, right? And so in that case, I will just compute those metrics for that specific column. And then finally, you can enable partitioning. By default, for BigQuery service, if you have set a partitioning enforcement on the table itself, then we will use that information, to compute the profiler metric. And in the case of, for example, date time or partition time or partition date configuration, we will use 1 day as the default value. But for any other tables where you may not have any type of enforcement in the service directly, you can still use a partitioning logic and enable that functionality inside the tool itself, right? So for example, here, maybe I want to partition my computation based on time unit, right? And I just want to compute the profile for my most recent orders that are 1 day old, for example, right? So I can select the day, and here I can just enter 1. My keyboard went to sleep, sorry. And then once I save that, it will simply compute my metrics for the past day, right? And we will have a much smaller amount of data that will be scanned, and we have a more efficient way of computing those metrics. Another best practice that we recommend is if you have a large amount of tables, tables with a large amount of data, you may want to exclude them from your profiler workflow itself and create a separate workflow that will run in parallel with that workflow. So you have the ability to create multiple profiler workflows so that you can parallelize the workload and the execution of your computation. And then finally, in 1.4, we've introduced a profiler configuration in the settings. So let me do that again. You go to the setting page. In preference, you have a profiler configuration, and that allows you to exclude computation of specific metric or of specific data type at the platform level, right? So maybe for anything that is a date type, right? Maybe I do not want to compute that metric at all. So I can disable that computation entirely for the whole platform. And whenever I see a date column type, then the profiler will simply ignore it and the computation will not happen. So those are the type of optimization that you can do to make it efficient and fit your need. So to summarize, at this point, what we have a lot of information when it comes to the structure of our table, right? So if I go back to my customers table, I have an understanding of the shape and the structure of this one, right? But now the next level for me will be to set assertion so that I can enforce and validate that, the assumption and the understanding of the shape of my table will stay as it is, right? So still under the profiler and data quality tab, I can go to the data quality section, right? So in the data quality section, what I will have is different test cases that have been defined, right? So here I have defined a few, but then I can navigate to the add test at the top, and I can decide to natively and simply add either a table level test or a column level test. So let's start with a table level test. We have different types. You can compute a certain number of rows count of your table that are between a certain number. But then most importantly, we have the ability to define a SQL expression, right? So that allows you to define basically a custom test, any type of test and assertion natively inside the platform, right? And then similarly, at the column level, I'm able to define different test cases. So I can pick, for example, my customer ID, and from there, I have a few assumptions. For example, my column ID should probably be not null. So I can simply select that and save it, submit it, and now I have that assertions that have been created. So creating a test case and starting your data observability journey with OpenMetadata and Collate is as simple as 2 to 3 clicks, right? If we count the submit button. So once I have defined those test cases, then I will set an execution pipeline. So similarly to how we do with the other data assets, the other workflow inside Collate, and that will give us the run of our workflow. Now, what I can also do is natively integrate a third-party data quality test within my platform, right? So that's fairly easy. You can set up a dbt workflow inside the platform, and that dbt workflow will automatically pick that information as long as we have the run result data. So for example, these 3 tests right here were data quality tests that were ingested with dbt. With great expectation, you can simply use our native action class inside your expectation file. And once you run that expectation file, then the result of those data quality tests will be automatically ingested inside the platform. So you have those 2 native integrations that allow you to have, to get started and centralize those information quickly with Collate. Now, once I have run those data quality tests, I have different views where I can visualize that information. I can visualize it from the entity level itself, or I can navigate to the observability tab. Inside the observability tab, I can navigate to the data quality page. The data quality page will provide me with 3 different kind of tabs. The first one is the by table view. The by table view will give us information about data quality test and data quality health at the table level, right? So I'll be able to see each table. And as you can see, we also have data quality tests that were defined for our data lake connector, so our Parquet file right here. And I'll have the percentage of successful test execution by table. And then I will see the overall health indicator across my my platform. I'm able to filter those test case results by owner, right? So maybe I want to see, only the test case that my user owns, or I can also simply search for a specific table, and that will filter it for those specific tables, right? Now, when I navigate to the by test case view, the by test case view gives us an entire view of our data quality test case at the test case level. And here we can search and explore it from different perspectives, right? I think the one that is very interesting to start with, if you have some sort of a data mesh organization, or that you are leveraging domain and data product inside the organization, is to filter test case by domain, right? Domain of test case will be inherited simply from the table itself, right? So here I have my finance domain. So let me go ahead and filter that. And here I will view all of my test cases that are related to my finance domain, right? So I can see that I have, about 20 test cases that are linked to my finance domain. And then whenever I will click on that table, I can see that these tables belongs to the finance domain. So let me go back here. Let me go and explore to view all domains. We can also explore it by type, right? Maybe I want to see my data, only my table level or my column level type, or maybe I just want to see the ones that failed, right? And then we can drill even a bit deeper into our search and simply search by platform. So maybe I just want to view my DBT tests that were brought inside my Collate platform, or maybe I just want to see the native tests that were executed, right? So from here, you can perform different search and view the test case result based on the interest that is fitted to your personas. In one of the minor release, we will also allow you to navigate those test cases by tags and by tier, so that you have that ability to correlate specific tags to specific data quality. So let's now click on one test case and explore what type of information we provide, right? So I will go ahead and pick my not null, my unique column, right? So here we can see different things. At the top, we will see who is the owner. We'll see incident information. We'll cover the incident part in a little bit. We'll see the severity of that test case failure. That severity will be inferred based on different characteristics of your table, if possible. Otherwise, you can also edit it or set it directly from the platform. Then you'll see the test type that we're running, the table it is executed against inside the platform, and any type of parameter or descriptions that were set when we've created that. We can always edit them. In that case, the unique test doesn't have parameters, so we don't see any type of parameter. Similarly to the profiler, we will be able to see the execution over time with some useful information, right? If we've decided to compute the number of pass and fail row, we will see that information directly here, so that we have a sense regarding the amount of failed row inside my platform, right? So here I can see that I have about 20 rows that have failed. And then in Collate, we're providing some sample row of data that failed, so that you can have a sense of the characteristic of the rows that have failed. We will be providing the queries that were used to generate those sample rows, so that you can use that as a starting point in your exploration and in your root cause analysis inside your service. Okay, so from here, I can navigate back to my table, and then I can go and check the lineage, right? From the lineage view, and it will be similar to the explore page. On the right side, I will see a summary of the profile data and the data quality. So here I have selected my customer node, and then I can see that I have a few failed rows and one test case that passed. If I expand the layer part, I can select the observability layer, and the observability layer will show me directly inside my lineage the past and failed rows, right? So that whenever you are exploring an asset from the lineage perspective, right, you can understand if there are any ongoing upstream failure in the table or assets that are linked to that specific node, right? So if I'm a user that's coming and using the test view, then from the test view, I can quickly visualize that there were some failure inside the customer table and understand that there is some incidents that is ongoing, right? Okay, so far to summarize what we have seen is with Collate, you have the ability to start your observability journey, to have an understanding of the structure and the type of metrics that are available inside your table, but also to start and add assertions to your connectors inside Collate. We don't have any limitation when it comes to SQL connectors. So literally, if you have ClickHouse connectors, data lake connectors, then you are able to leverage the tool to set up those data quality checks. Okay, so now the next step for us will be, how do we manage those failures, right? We have failures. Now what we want data consumer to be able to understand that there are ongoing failures that are being worked on. And as data producer, I want to be able to triage those failures and assign them to users for resolution, right? So what I can do, I can navigate to the incident manager. Inside the incident manager, what I will see is a list of all the ongoing incidents that are open. Whenever there is a test case failure, we will open a new incident and you will see the status as new inside the incident manager, right? So that user can understand that there are ongoing issues that are open and that have not been acknowledged yet, right? The next step here can be either to assign that incident or acknowledge it as it was right here, right? So here we can see it was acknowledged, today. So let me go ahead and acknowledge this one, right? So I will acknowledge it to myself. So now whenever I go to the test case itself, navigate to the incident page, then we will be able to see that this incident that is open was acknowledged, today at 6:36 p.m., right? So that user can now understand that there is someone that is actively looking at that incident and that we can expect a resolution, right? Once it's acknowledged, you can assign it to a different two users, right? So here I will assign it to myself in that case. And what you can see is that once I've assigned that incident to myself, I will receive a notification here telling me, hey, you have a task that has been assigned to yourself and someone is asking you to perform a specific action, right? So we can go and check that task, right? And I can see that I have an open task that has been assigned to myself, right? I can discuss, comment, tag people, link to specific asset, right? Directly in here so that we have some context and discussion and collaboration on that task, on that incident resolution can happen directly within the platform. Right, and then the final step, once everything is good, we will mark this as a result. So we are requiring user to pick a reason so that it can be tracked inside the organization, and it can help other users resolve potentially similar incidents in the future, right? So maybe that was other, and we'll mark that as a test, right? And then we'll submit it and mark it as a result. Now we can see that on my test case page in the incident tab, I can see that my incident is now closed. And that incident will stay and live with that test case for as long as that test case lives inside the platform. And that allows you to keep that information and that knowledge really close to the test case so that whenever a new incident comes up, user can go and refer to past incidents that were closed and reduce the time to resolution. All right, perfect. So now we've seen quite a few elements around the observability and quality. We've seen the metrics, we've seen the assertion, we've seen the incidents, right? But now we also understand that not everyone live inside the platform, right? And maybe what you want to do is be alerted in real time whenever there is a failure or an incident or something happening inside the platform, right? So to do so is very easy. You can navigate to the Observability tab and go to the alert section. And from here, you can create alerts that will be linked to different elements, right? So you can pick a source, right? A source can be a test case or a test suite. I'll go over the test suite in a second. We can pick a test case, for example, source, and then we can filter by different elements. Maybe I want to receive notification whenever there is a failure of a test case that is linked to a domain or that is owned by someone or that belongs to a specific table, right? And here we can decide to pick, which table we want to monitor. So maybe it's our customer table that we want to monitor, and then we can select a trigger, right? We want to get informed whenever a test case fails or gets aborted. And then finally, we simply choose a destination. Destination can be, email, GChat, MS Teams, Slack, or it can be a webhook itself. Now the downside with receiving alert for the test case can be potentially alert fatigue, right? That's why we have provided you with the test suite source, right? And test suites are simply a logical grouping of different test case inside the test suite, right? So here we have our test suite tab. We can create a new test suite, right? So let's do new test suite. We'll select it. And here I can select different test case that lives, maybe in different tables or inside the same table or whatnot. So let's go ahead and pick some test case from our customer table, but also from our data lake table, right? So I will pick those two. I will submit it. I will create it. And now what I have is a logical grouping of those test case that lives in different entity, different tables inside the platform, right? And what I can do now, instead of receiving one alert whenever there is a test case that failed, I can decide to receive just one alert whenever any of the test case fail inside my test suite, effectively reducing alert fatigue. Instead of receiving 4 distinct alerts in our scenario, we will just receive one alert if all the 4 test suites are failing, right? So we will pick the test suite, select the trigger. In that case, our test case failed inside our test suite, and then we will pick our test suite and simply select the destination. So effectively here, you can better manage alert and reduce any type of fatigue that can exist with alerting. We also have other observability metrics that can be tracked directly from the alert system. So you can monitor actively any type of schema change for table, topics, and container. And for your pipeline and your ETL pipeline, you can monitor any type of failure that happened here, right? Effectively monitoring different elements across your data stack. All right, so we've seen all of the 4 elements. One thing that I want to touch on, and that's similar to the entire platform, you have the ability to actively manage those access. So if I select, for example, a table resource, I can decide to allow or disallow people to view data profile. Similarly, for the test, I can allow or disallow people to view, edit, those test case and those sample rows fairly. And similarly, I can also allow people to view those sample data. So you have that granularity when it comes to deciding who can, act on the observability side of the thing. All right, so let me share my other screen, and now we will step into the future, right? Into what we're working actively on at Collate and developing, right? So I think before we go more granularity into the functionality that we're developing, I think it's interesting to understand our vision when it comes to the observability and quality side of things, right? What we're building for you is, a complete observability solution across your entire stack, so that you can drive efficiency and build trust with your stakeholder, right? That's our motto. That's what makes us wake up and work on those functionality every day. And basically that vision can be articulated around 4 categories, right? The first one being minimizing the effort that it takes you to start your journey when it comes to quality and observability, right? And one of the big functionality that we're working on for 1.5 is AI-backed dynamic rule assertion, right? So that you don't have to understand the full structure and have the full context of your data, but that you can let our model understand the structure of your data, the expected good structure of your data, and warn you whenever we are seeing any type of anomaly in the structure of your data. We're also working towards leveraging the automator that was introduced in 1.5, so that you can create automation rule to define your test case and automatically assign them across your platform, and also to develop test suggestion when it comes to assigning your test case. So similarly to how we are suggesting description and optimization with the Metapilot, we also want you to have those suggestions available when it comes to creating test case. And then the second category is around lowering the time to resolution, right? We understand that time to resolving data incident have a cost on the organization, on the team, on people, and we want to make it as efficient as possible, right? So in 1.5, we will show any type of upstream failure directly from the entity page, so that when your user and your consumer are navigating the platform, then they are directly informed of any potential upstream failure, right? We want to also allow you to set dimensionality to your test case, so that you can have more granular check and have an understanding of assertion across different dimensions inside your table. And then we're also working towards dimensionality correlation analysis, right? So instead of having to do that work, that heavy work of understanding, well, maybe my failure comes from my New York City data that's being ingested, we want to surface that information directly to you, so that right away you have that understanding and you understand where you need to go and fix your data. And then finally, you want to easily integrate with your third-party incident management tool that you may be using, right? When it comes to the third dimension, here we're more around the insight that we're providing to you directly from the platform, so that you have the right information and the right knowledge to make the right decision making, right? In 1.5, we will introduce a resolution health dashboard. So in the incident page, we will surface metric that will help you understand, time to resolution, time to acknowledgement, number of incidents over time, so that you have that information that's presented to you and you have an understanding of the efficiency that's going on inside your organization. Similarly, on the data quality page, we want to enhance the metrics that we're providing you, so that you have an understanding of the coverage of all the different assets and tables that exist inside your organization. And then finally, the third dimension is around building trust across your entire data stack, right? Entire data stack is very important to us because our tool, aims to cover the entire data stack as it exists, right? So we'll be introducing freshness and integrated data quality test in 1.5. Integrated data quality test allowing you to do some data difference between tables, maybe inside the same service or maybe across different services. We'll be introducing data quality monitoring rule for your NoSQL sources. So think about MongoDB, for example. And then finally, we'll be also, enhancing the pipeline monitoring that we are providing today by opening incidents whenever we're seeing status, but also allowing you to track runtime of your pipeline across time so that you don't have those slow lingering increase of pipeline runtime that ends up breaking your entire ETL process. Right. So that's our vision. That's what we're working on. And I think, basically to wrap it up and to tie it with what we're building, data quality and observability is just one part of what Collate and open metadata is, right? At the end of the day, we're here to provide you with a unified platform where you can do everything: discovery, observability, and governance. And having the synergy that exists inside the tool available to you. So that's it for the presentation for the past, the present, and the future. So I will hand it back to Perry. And yeah, if there are any questions, I think we're here to answer them.
Awesome. Thanks, Teddy. It was a great presentation. Definitely, you got me excited. I might even cancel the holidays. And I think that this is a great testament that we are basically here building something that is what we hoped we had when we were playing with data, right? You're a data engineer. You try to make sense of things. And what Teddy was showing here, like how you can go from discovering the data to making sense from the profiler to allow anyone to crowdsource and add all of these test cases directly from the UI to hook that information and link it directly with the lineage. So all of this feels very natural, right? On open metadata and on Collate. And this is basically the power of having this unified platform that you can have all of the answers that you need to get the job done directly on the same space. You don't need to jump from tool to tool. You don't need to ask random questions in random places. You actually have all of the relevant context to figure out all of these errors and to collaborate with the rest of the people just right there at your fingertips. And in terms of the observabilities, we've all been in companies where people think as observability as getting an alert in Slack. But what happens later, right? It's not about knowing that there are issues. It's actually knowing what you can do in order to fix those issues and prevent them in the future. So being able to have such powerful features, all of them packed up in a single and unique platform, is what actually will help you and the data teams in your organization to keep improving and actually focusing on the problems at hand, rather than just losing time on random Slacks, random Jiras, random processes built on a few different tools, instead of having open metadata that's vehicle that it's actually there helping you achieve the end goal of your data teams. So yeah, definitely super exciting. Can't wait on what we are also building for the next releases. And please, any questions that you have for Teddy, he will be super happy to answer.
I think, Andy, you have a question about the pipeline schedule. Do you want? I can read it.
Yeah, sure. I'm just starting to deploy my setup for the org, and it's really been a powerful tool. So thank you guys so much for building it. One of the question that I'm asking right now is, I'm starting to do some data quality test cases, and there's several. Each table seems to have its own pipeline in place. And we could very quickly run into contention issues that I've seen in other tools, such as Jenkins, for example, where the default cron schedule is midnight, for example, and every single pipeline wakes up at midnight to do something. And you kind of back up the data warehouse because it only handles so many queries concurrently. Is there a way for us to kind of group the test suite pipeline such that they run sequentially or across multiple tables, or is that something that's potentially planned in the future?
I can do a quick answer on that, Teddy. You can follow up. So in general, queuing should be the scheduler problem. So if you have an Argo or a Airflow, you can set how many concurrent workflows you should be running. So the scheduler itself, even though they're all set 12 a.m., right, the scheduler will take care of your queuing for you. So that's the reason we kind of kept it deferred to the scheduler itself. Teddy, if you want to add more details there.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Also on the scheduling part of it, we're also making improvement there so that you can more finely schedule test case execution within a table itself, so that you can have more configuration at that level. But what Harsha mentioned.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you for asking, Andy. More questions. We still have some time. Don't be shy.
And by the way, Andy, thank you for jumping into all those threads and answering and providing, answers based on your experience. Awesome. Awesome to see
I'm
that
just
happen.
trying to figure out how to set it up properly for myself as well.
Yeah, but you're imparting your learnings to the community. That's super helpful.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael, and I'm really recently started to play with the application. It's really great. Thank you so much for supporting the open source. So I have a question about once let's say my data is scanned and it's already there in the observable mode. How can I connect the SSO or multiple teams so and manage the specific segments of data to be available for different type of people in the org?
Yeah, I guess just to specify it, you mean SSO for the integration or for the platform itself?
What the organization already have the SSO basically established. So once I will connect the service to the SSO, how can I basically rely the profiles in the groups to rely on the profiles defined in the app or like access?
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, I think this is related to SSO integration, where you want to manage your users and groups from SSO and integrate into OpenMetadata.
That's more or less, yes, but it's more related to the management of those groups and the relation between the SSO and the application itself to keep it in sync, I guess.
Yeah, so this is something that we are looking into. It's called SCIM integration with SSOs, where the users and their roles can be mapped directly. This is on our roadmap, but not immediately.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. I guess that we can still take one or two more questions.
Hi, I do have a question. So I mean, yeah, I really like the OpenMetadata project, and I've deployed OpenMetadata, the whole stack, within my company as a data management tool. One of the issues, so as we have ingested more and more data from our S3 buckets, one thing that we realized is that the Elasticsearch index does not necessarily work really well. So sometimes we have multiple files that are very similar in the file names. Perhaps they have proper hierarchical structure, but when we search it through OpenMetadata, certain datasets appear and certain datasets do not appear in the search, even after we reindex through Elasticsearch. So my question here is whether there is some sort of like configuration that needs to be put during deployment for like tailoring Elasticsearch, or is there an issue that you guys have found elsewhere as well?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we improved quite a bit in the indexing from 1.2 to 1.3 and then in 1.40 as well. It will be great to understand which version you are in, and this should, I mean, we can discuss it long term on the OpenMetadata Slack. Probably easier to kind of have this discussion back and forth, what is working, what's not working from your side. But it shouldn't be an issue if you are asking for that.
To continue to this question, maybe is OpenMetadata supports the cluster of the indexing services or just one single instance of the search?
You can, that's up to you how you want to deploy. You can do a multi-node cluster as well.
So did you say that you fix most of these issues? So I think that the current stack that
there is a reliability.
1.4.
Yeah, I think what we have done is multifold. So earlier we used to do event-based indexing. That is, any changes that are happening in OpenMetadata directly get indexed in an event-based, like we're generating for version changes or any notifications kind of thingy. So we changed that to inline indexing. So you're writing to, let's say, MySQL Postgres also updates Elasticsearch. We used to do asynchronously because we want to get the response back to the user immediately, but then we changed that to kind of a synchronous update to Elasticsearch as well, or in this case, OpenSearch. So there are many improvements, iterations that we have done, which kind of improve the reliability of live indexing of changes that is writing into MySQL Postgres, then also Elastic and OpenSearch at the same time. So I would like to understand more in detail of what you are experiencing. So I think let's open up a Slack support thread. Would be great to discuss that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Perfect. I think that the live syncing that you just mentioned perhaps is what I was missing.
Awesome. Thanks, Ian. So yeah, if you experience any of these, do pop a thread. Getting some logs always helps to try to understand where we are coming from, and we can take it from there.
For anyone who didn't join our Slack, to join our Slack, that's where all the like-minded people, all of your OpenMetadata implementation, your community members are there. So great place to interact with, great place to get your support, each other, and the community happens.
Hey, thank you so much for this project and contributing to open source community. Really like the presentation. My question is if there's plans to add more KPI options on the platform. There's currently just the coverage for description and the entity owners, but we can add more besides this too.
Yeah, so larger plan around the data insights we are building. So we are hoping to kind of do some initial release for 1.5, which will give an ability to kind of create your own metrics and KPIs. We will extend a lot more features into 1.5, 1.6. And this will be a great time actually to give some feedback on the KPIs, like what you like to track and everything else. So community in the feature request section or in the support section in the Slack, we would like to kind of understand what you're looking to kind of track and how you're kind of trying to use KPIs as well.
Looking to measure the number of tables passing a certain test. So that would be like really good to see in the KPI. But yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. This data quality coverage is actually one of the things that we get asked the most. So that's definitely part of our plans, just to make sure that your most important tables are being properly tracked by the tests. So happy that we are aligned on that, that we are currently planning on building something that is going to be useful. And then I guess that we can stop it here for today.
Actually,
Thanks
one last request. I think we are looking for sorry to get last minute, but as a community members, right? So you're already using OpenMetadata in production or doing a POC or whatnot. It will be great for you to kind of demo certain parts of how you're using OpenMetadata. What's working for you, how your teams are being productive with it. So we do this monthly. We always look out for speakers, come up with a what worked, what didn't work, and all of that. So please do reach out to us, and we'll love to get you on board for next community meeting. With that, I'm going to stop talking. Thanks, Pere, and thanks everyone for joining in today.
No, thanks for raising that. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Teddy, for a great presentation. Looking forward to see all of you on our next meeting and enjoy the rest of your day. See you later. Goodbye.
Bye.